All right, people. Review of the week time. How are we all doing? Recording this on a morning for a change, just to see if any news broke last night. It didn't. Monday morning. Happy bank holiday if you're in Ireland, which I am until Wednesday. So we'll enjoy this bank holiday if you're lucky enough to have it. I know in the UK it's the end of August. Yeah, it's always the start of August over here. We got a lot to talk about, a lot of news that's kind of filtered through over the last couple of days, more so with regards to the heavyweight division, but there is also other stuff to talk about. We're getting ever closer to a Telma versus White. I'm really looking forward to that myself. I think it's going to be absolutely epic. This week's at A&G, man. We're obviously going to probably, we're already planning on that, but we're going to probably preview it for next week's show, because obviously ADA will be in Saudi Arabia all next week. So it's going to be good, man. We've got a lot of good stuff to talk about. We'll just touch on very briefly, right? Because obviously there was fights on over the weekend. Now, the only fight that I've really seen any real bits of was Regis Prograis versus Jojo Diaz. But we'll start with Oscar Duarte versus Kenneth Sims Jr. Now, a lot of people are saying that bout, a lot of people felt that Kenneth Sims Jr. was hard done by. And if you look at the scorecards, 115, 113, 114, 114 even, and 116 and 112, that implies to me that it was quite a competitive fight. Now, Oscar Duarte, I have seen him a few times, but I haven't really done much. I haven't really talked that much about him. I remember this fight with Ryan Garcia. I remember that back in 23. Garcia didn't look good in that fight, if I remember correctly. I don't remember him looking particularly good in that fight at all, really. But that's really the only kind of fight that I vaguely remember him being in. I did look at the punch stats for this, and a little, glance at the highlights on it. Oscar Duarte he's an interesting fighter, to say the least. He is. And I think that the matchmaking, obviously you look at the undercard, I'm pretty sure that was fought at 140 pounds, it was. You look at the undercard, the fight that really caught fire, certainly early on, was Regis Prograis versus Jojo Diaz. That was also fought at 140 pounds. I don't know, has Prograis fought since the Jack Catterall defeat? Now, that's his first fight after the Jack Catterall defeat, which he suffered. I think it was late last year was when he fought Jack Catterall. Don't remember much about that fight, obviously. Jack Catterall fight, I'm hardly going to go back and rewatch it. But this fight was interesting. So Jojo Diaz was actually, and Jojo Diaz is not a noted puncher, by the way, but he was able to stun Regis Prograis in the first round, had him on jelly legs. Prograis was able to get his bearings back, was ultimately able to pick up a decision over 10 rounds. It was a 10-rounder. You would imagine, given the fact that he was on a Golden Boy show, it was in actually Illinois, of all places, Chicago, Illinois. They don't do much boxing there anymore. You very seldom see it in Chicago, Illinois these days. It's not really a city you'd associate with boxing, to be honest with you, certainly when in terms of the big cities in America. But he got the win over Jojo Diaz. Now, I think Regis Prograis in his prime, which is probably about 5-6 years ago, was seriously talented. He's definitely regressed. He's on the slide now. Could be the fact that I thought he was actually going to move up in weight after the Devin Haney fight, and certainly after the Jack Catterall fight, but this was obviously, now, 140 pounds, they were both like 141, but it's essentially 140 pounds. Jojo Diaz, this is the 8th loss of his professional career. All right, now, Diaz picked up a world title. He beat Tevin Farmer back in 2020, I think it was. Pretty sure that was, I think that was early 2020. I think that was Demetrius Andre versus Luke Keeler. And there was it wasn't Misfits, it was on an Eddie Hearn show. It wasn't Misfits, but it would go on to be Misfits. I'm pretty sure there was a Misfits style fight on that. I think that was in Rhode Island as well, another lesser spotted American boxing city. But Jojo Diaz, right, when he turned pro, he was with Golden Boy, fought in a few of Canelo's undercards. He was a featherweight, and he was a natural featherweight. Very ill-disciplined fighter is Jojo Diaz, and he's ultimately ended up at 140 pounds. He's no business up at that weight, quite frankly. But that is the story of the weekend's fights. Again, there wasn't a crazy amount to talk about over the course of the weekend with regards fights. So that was really it. Like I said, August, this month so far is, with the exception of next weekend's show, we're very thin on the ground. I know Frank has a show on the end of the month. They have announced, actually, Eddie and Frank, more shows for the coming months, which we'll talk about now as this video progresses. But it's quite a quiet month, the month of August. I would imagine there'll be plenty of news, because there's obviously plenty of news to talk about here, and we'll obviously discuss that later on. We'll even discuss probably in a separate video today. But it's quite thin on the surface for fights. The ring would like to wish His Excellency Turki Al Sheikh a very, very happy birthday. The excellent turkey. It's his birthday. Congratulations to him. Happy birthday is in order. What else do we have here on the Ring Magazine's website? Now, I know this isn't technically boxing news per se. It's not really, but it is something I'm kind of keen on because I've never really been one for watching boxing movies as such. But Naz, Prince Nassim Mohammed, is set to have a biography released in the first quarter of next year about his career and his relationship with former trainer Brendan Ingle. I think Brendan Ingle is going to be played by Pierce Brosnan. I was going to say, no, he's not going to be played by the other Pierce. We won't even go there with that last name. Look, it looks good. I'm actually quite looking forward to seeing that, to be honest with you. I know it's not really boxing news, but I'm quite intrigued about it. I'm not going to lie, I'm quite intrigued about it. I'll definitely give it a watch when it comes out. I like Naz. So we'll definitely have a look-see at that when it comes out. I just said I'd touch on it ever so briefly. What else do we have here? Oh yeah, so during the week, right? And again, these are just reports at the minute. There's not necessarily any kind of real certainty or validity to them. But a lot of people are reporting that Tank Davis, Tank Davis was meant to fight this month. He was meant to fight, I think next weekend actually. It was meant to be the road to rematch. Obviously very controversial fight first time around. That was back in, I think, February, March time, thereabouts. Obviously Tank Davis, as he seems to do, but so often, gets himself into a spot of bother again. And there's rumours going around that he's actually going to retire from boxing. Now, Tank Davis is one of those fighters who I've always praised his ability. Outside of the ring, different story. No. But in the ring, he is one of the most entertaining, frustrating fighters. And I'll tell you why he's frustrating, because he's so capable. Man, but Tank Davis, since I've seen him at the start of his career, back when he won his first world title years ago, you look and you just think, the talent. Man, it's actually scary how talented he is. He's got talent to burn. And it's just so wasted. The ducking of Lomachenko is like Ryan Garcia. That win, right, is tainted. You drain the life out of the guy, and then you slap the rehydration clause on top of that. If Tank goes, if he does leave, I mean, I'm just like, yeah, so what? I loved watching him, and I think we're getting to the stage now where he's getting older, and it's all like he's just all these things outside the ring. It doesn't fill me with confidence that we're going to have Tank at his best for very long, even if he sticks around. Lawrence Okolie welcomes a fight with Fabio Wardley as he chases a world heavyweight title. A heavyweight, if we both keep winning, it's a guaranteed fight. That's got to happen. If I can't get Dylan White, give me Fabio and we have a chance to dance. Well, there's no need to keep winning. Why doesn't it happen next then? Fabio Wardley doesn't have a fight scheduled. I know Lawrence Okolie has that bicep injury, but once it's healed, in-house fight, both with Queensbury, that would do phenomenally good numbers. It would. It wouldn't be pay-per-view or anything like that, but it would do. You could do Ipswich again, Portman Road. It would absolutely kill in London. It would. Lawrence Okolie, where is he from? Hackney? Somewhere thereabouts. So East London. I know is he from Victoria or somewhere around there? But he's from London anyway. So it would do good numbers. You do that in the OVO. Probably do it in the OVO. I'd love that fight. Who would I make favourite in it? I would make Fabio Wardley favourite. Yes, he's limited. We saw the limitations against Justice Hooney. And Lawrence Okolie is a good boxer. He's a good long-range boxer. But my thing about Okolie is, and I've said this time and time about him, as well as the weight, is he's too heavy, as far as I'm concerned. Way too heavy. About 25 pounds too heavy. I've always, even at cruiserweight, I've always said he looks like someone who's vulnerable. He's always looked that way. I went back, his fight with Erislandy Savon, the second fight was it the second fight? No, it was the first fight, where he got dropped a bunch of times and stopped in the first round. You can go and look at that on YouTube. That was him at cruiserweight, but that was him with, heavyweight in the amateurs, 201 pounds in the amateurs, so it's basically cruiserweight. People, that was Lawrence Okolie in his early to mid-20s. I'm telling you now, right, I don't think he can hold a heavyweight shot. And I don't certainly think he can hold a shot from Fabio Wardley. It's also been announced that on October the 11th up in Sheffield, Dave Allen will face Arslanbek Makhmudov in a heavyweight clash. That's an interest. It's a very how would I explain? How would I describe it? It's a very kind of out there type of fight. Not in a bad way. Not in a bad way. I like the fight. It's an interesting fight. I have to give Dave Allen a lot of credit. You know, he could have probably taken an easier route. I'm sure there would have been ways that they could have maybe done something to try and, have him fight maybe Jamie TKV. I know they've ordered Fraser Clark, Jamie TKV, but you know what I mean. Surely there's ways you can do things. That right there, although Makhmudov, look, 2 years ago you would have said Makhmudov, Dave Allen, that's a mismatch, right? And it may still very well be that, but over the last 2 years, a lot has been shown of Arslanbek Makhmudov to show that he's not really, incredible. He's very slow. Not very good when you start to bully him in there and really start to, give him as good as he's given you. Obviously, Caballel did that. Guido Vianello, that loss is a particularly bad one. And you could see there was warning signs there when he fought Takam, Arslanbek Makhmudov. I just think those guys are a different level to Dave Allen. Dave Allen is there or thereabouts British level, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, but he's there or thereabouts British level. Is Guido Vianello, would he be British level? He'd probably be European or a bit more, and we all know about Ajay Caballel. Now, they're the only two guys who have beaten Arslanbek Makhmudov, who is also a tremendous puncher. He might be slow as molasses, but he's a tremendous puncher. Dave Allen has a good chin. It's not that long ago that Fraser Clark handily dealt with Dave Allen. All right, would Fraser Clark be on a level of Makhmudov? Probably thereabouts. Really, maybe Makhmudov is slightly ahead of Fraser Clark. Who knows? I look at this fight and I just think, right, it could go pear-shaped very, very quick for Dave Allen. He takes a good shot, but at this stage now in his respective career, a lot of miles on the clock. At the end of the day, you beat Johnny Fisher. You beat Johnny flipping Fisher. That's not obviously, that's not going to catapult you to world level. Johnny Fisher is but Johnny Fisher actually on that, he's left Mark Tibbs, and I have a lot of respect for Mark Tibbs, and he's always been very good to me. He's always given me interviews whenever I've seen him, so massive credit to Mark Tibbs. He's left Mark Tibbs and he's gone to Tony Sims. Now, whether Tony Sims can bring anything out of Johnny Fisher, I doubt very much. I mean, when you go back and you look at the Dave Allen fight, a lot of the mistakes that Johnny Fisher was making in there, he was making things so easy for Dave Allen at times in there. The way he would try and, it's weird, right? If you look at Johnny Fisher, right, in that Dave Allen fight in particular, the novice-y things he was doing, and bear in mind he's been pro now for 4 years, and they're still not ironed out. And I'm not saying that's a knock at Mark Tibbs. I think that's just the lack of coordination and ability of Johnny Fisher. So you can put him with someone like a Tony Sims. You could put him with Manuel Stewart or Eddie Futch if they were still alive. I don't think it's going to make a blind bit of difference. But, hey, just one man's opinion. Joshua Boazzi has now officially signed a promotional deal moving forward with Frank Warren and Queensberry. He will now fight on the DAZN moving forward. The man who said he didn't want to fight on the DAZN app is now fighting on the DAZN app. Funny how things change. I'm not going to... I like the idea. I like it. Questions definitely need to be asked to Ben Shalom. What the hell is going on there? Because he's now starting to lose fighters. We're hearing Adam Azim. There's rumours going around, Adam Azim, Ben Whittaker, amongst those types. There's no word on what's happening with Boxer and a TV deal. I mean, they had a Sky deal and they had the red carpet rolled out. And quite frankly, Ben Shalom didn't do a particularly good job. He didn't. We're not going to show... He didn't do a particularly good job. He made some signings early on, and they all left. They probably read the room and saw, oh my God, what's going on here? They've either gone to Queensberry or they've gone to Matchroom. The shows were very, very thin on the ground. I kind of knew Ben Shalom was done when he said words to the effect of, it was something about Sam Egerton. Now, we all know, we all like Sam Egerton, a warrior, blood and guts. Must watch TV, Sam Egerton, because he's always in a good fight. And he said something like Sam Egerton is not entertaining enough for Sky Sports. And I'm like, and what Lauren Price is? No offence. That just shows how out of touch Shalom was with the fans and people like that. So once I heard that, I was like, all right, the writing's on the wall for this kid, even though he's older than me. But you know what I mean? I was like, it's done. It's done. So Shalom, whatever happens next, we don't know. The obvious move would be DAZN, because then you have the four, and I'm going to say four, You'll have the four main UK promoters being Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn, Izzy Asif, and Ben Shalom. They'll all be on the zone, so it'll be easy to make cross-promotional fights. It should be like that, snap of your fingers and it's done. Hopefully that's what he does. But saying that, we just don't know where he stands. I mean, we're hearing again, iPlayer, really? I mean, really, is that really where we are now with Ben Shalom in 2025? You're going on to BBC iPlayer of all places. I mean, you may as well do nothing at all. That's like going back to what was the name of that app, Fight TV, when Box Nation kind of went, you know what, before Frank Warren started doing the channel. So yeah, Rolly Romero has now been elevated to WBA full champion at welterweight. Rolly Romero is now a 2-division champion. I know. I'm actually stunned. I am genuinely stunned. Rolly Romero, a 2-division champion. I've never rated Rolly Romero, as you guys know. I've never rated him, and yeah. Josh Kelly speaks to the ring about a potential fight with IBF 154-pound world champion Bakram Murtazaliev and claims he would make him look silly. Right. Yeah. I think he would run through Josh Kelly like a knife runs through hot butter. I mean, Josh Kelly... When Josh Kelly came around first, he had that Sky hype behind him. And I remember it very well because Eddie Hearn had just signed Danny Yerlusinov from the Olympics. And Sky were... I remember this very well. Kelly and Yerlusinov, I think they fought in the amateurs, and I'm pretty sure Yerlusinov won. I think he did. Kelly, and they were fighting pretty much the same level of opposition. And Yerlusinov was just going through the motions. He wasn't looking spectacular, but he was clearly better than the guys he was fighting. Sky were, not that good. Josh Kelly fights John Doe. Oh, amazing. Oh, remarkable. Oh, brilliant. They really had the full Sky hype train out for Josh Kelly. And you could see there was worrying signs from early on. You know, that Josh Kelly lacked a bit of physical strength. His defense was not as tight as he wanted it to be, or he thought it was. And I would say tight, was good. He was using reflexes. And you could tell that he couldn't crack an egg. Like, really, he had no power to keep these guys off him. Saw what happened when he fought Ray Robinson on the AJ Ruiz undercard. Thought he lost that fight, quite frankly. They pushed the Avanesian fight back several times because he was meant to fight Avanesian as early as 2018. And I think he weighed in. In fact, I'm pretty sure he weighed in for an Avanesian fight on an undercard. I can't remember which undercard it was in 2018, and they pulled out on the day of the fight. They pushed that fight back a couple of times. Ultimately, when it happened like 3 years later, and he got battered. He did 2 good rounds, and then he got absolutely broken up and battered. At the end of the day, Avanesian is European level. Josh Kelly will get annihilated by Bakram Murtazaliev. He will get obliterated, as he would if he fights Boots Ennis, which is also a fight that was mentioned as well. Eddie Hearn, I think, was mentioned in Boots Ennis. Eddie Hearn was. What else is there in terms of Ring Magazine? There have been some Matchroom and Queensbury shows announced. I just don't have them in front of me. I know one of them is Josh Padley, Reece Bellotti. That could be on Dave Allen's undercard. I'm not 100% sure on that one. There's also Kieran Conway against George Liddard. That's obviously a Matchroom show as well. I don't get that matchmaking from Matchroom at all, to be honest with you, because Kieran Conway is a very capable fighter and he's still got loads in the tank. I've been impressed with George Liddard, but that's a huge step up, and I think that's a step up way too soon in his career. Now, I did a video on this yesterday, so I'm only going to talk briefly about it, and then we'll finish with our best friend, with our legend on this channel, a legend of this channel, Mr. Tyson Fury. Alexander Usyk is not engaged. Alexander Usyk is not engaged in negotiations with Joseph Parker over a WBO mandatory fight. Now, I will say, one of my subscribers, Adam, mentioned in the comments of the video I did about this yesterday, and he made a very good point, to be fair. It's something that I didn't actually think about. That Usyk specified that he would be taking roughly 2 to 3 months, kind of just to spend time with his family. Obviously, when he does these camps, he puts everything into them, so he doesn't see his family, as he's got young kids and a wife and all that. So that's a fair point. But counter argument to that would be, if you know the purse bid is coming, if you know it's been called, it's been ordered, right? Would you not even say, right, look, I'm not going to get into the negotiating, I'm not going to get into this, but at least designate it to a member of your team? Is that maybe where Alex Krasuk came in so handy for Alexander Usyk, that he would just be the guy who'd be like, right, you go and enjoy yourself with the family, I'll look after this. Maybe now he doesn't have that. So I don't know, I'm only speculating on that. The Parker fight, I'd like the Parker fight to happen. I would. I think that Alexander Usyk, his run at heavyweight has been brilliant. It's been nothing short of phenomenal. But we have 6 fights against the same guy. Sorry, we've 6 fights against the same 3 opponents. Come on. Now, we can do better than this. We can do better than this. And we need another name in there. And Joseph Parker certainly is arguably number 2 heavyweight in the world. Arguably between him and Kabayel. So yeah, let's get it on. I'd love to see that fight happen. Given the fact that the Saudis have said that they wouldn't be, they're not interested in it, leads me to believe that, okay, that fight is probably, that we could probably stick a fork in that fight. Therefore, you would imagine there's probably going to be a vacation coming up sooner rather than later. When I say vacation, I don't mean holiday. I mean, obviously, Alexander Usyk vacating that WBO belt. His promoter, David Higgins, spoke about how Parker wants to become the champion, not have it given to him. Well, look, it looks like that's not going to happen. It looks like you're just going to become it essentially by having it given to you, because your interim champion, Usyk, isn't going to keep that belt, I don't think. And I really don't know. I really don't know what Usyk's plan is. If he has another fight, it'll probably be his last. I think he should just bow out now. I've said it once and I'll say it again. And one reason why I think we might be getting Usyk bowing out is an interview Tyson Fury gave with Sky Sports. He said, and I quote, Tyson Fury insists he will never return to boxing when asked about a comeback from retirement. Tyson Fury has hinted regularly about a comeback to boxing in recent months, but says he will never return to the sport. The 36-year-old retired after his rematch defeat to Alexander Usyk. Fury has been linked with a trilogy fight against Usyk or a fight with Anthony Joshua. Fury, however, insists he will never return to boxing. The 36-year-old has been absent from the sport since a rematch defeat to Alexander Usyk in December. Fury recently called for a trilogy against Usyk and continues to be linked with a blockbuster British battle against Anthony Joshua, but he gave a blunt response to a question about his future. The former heavyweight champion, who was attending Doncaster Racecourse, replied, never, when he was asked if he returned to the ring. Too old, look at my beard, all grey, boxing is a young man's game. Fury watches his horse named Big Gypsy King and was quizzed whether he would return, whether he would race horses instead. Maybe, who knows. In the aftermath of Usyk's knockout win over Danny Dubois last month, Fury suggested that he was the only man who could end the Ukrainians' unbeaten record despite suffering points defeats in their 2 respective fights. Yes. Speaking on social media, Fury said, shout out to Alexander Usyk, he did a fantastic job with Danny Dubois, a good young lad who came for a good therapy. Congratulations to both men, but Usyk knows the only man who can beat him. I've done it twice before and the world knows it. Yes, I don't believe that is the case. I believe Alexander Usyk beat Tyson Fury quite clearly on both occasions, and Fury is still sore about that. Fury's promoter Frank Warren believed a third fight with Usyk would motivate Fury more than a long-awaited showdown with Anthony Joshua. We'll see, but he likes that fight and he wants that fight, and they were close fights, by the way, Warren told Sky Sports. They weren't really that close. Anything could happen in this business. Maybe the fights can be made if indeed Usyk wants to do it and Tyson wants to do it. I'm sure there'd be an appetite for it. From the Saudis, yeah. From the casuals, yeah. But from the people who've seen it twice and seen Usyk beat Fury handily twice, we don't particularly want to see it again, Frank, to be honest with you. Fury, I wonder if Fury knows something about Alexander Usyk, as in that Alexander Usyk maybe is going to bow out now. That's why I asked, because he seemed, to be pushing for this, Usyk trilogy, I'll come back to the BBC, we're going to facilitate it. Now he's backtracked again. First it was retired, then I'm staying retired, then I'm coming back, now I'm retired again. And it's just, people say the boy who cried wolf. That's why we don't take what he says too seriously, because it's just one in the space of a couple of weeks, it's like I'm back, I'm retired, I'm back, I'm retired. It's just, here we go, right? I suspect that Fury may know something about Usyk's next move. And if he thinks Usyk's retiring and that's the only fight he wants, because better to tell the world, I got robbed twice or I got robbed 3 times against Alexander Usyk than to fight Anthony Joshua. I don't think he'll lose. Quite frankly, Tyson Fury, if he fights Anthony Joshua, I don't think he'll lose that fight. I think he'll win it. But if he did lose it, oh God, then the questions are asked, was he even the second best? Where do you put you know what I mean? So, yeah, it's an interesting one there with Tyson Fury. What he's saying as well, boxing's a young man's game. Alexander Usyk beat a younger man, beat him up a couple of weeks ago. So is it really that young? Who knows? But yeah, Tyson Fury, I think Tyson Fury is not a stupid man. He's not stupid by no stretch. So I wonder, does he realise himself that Alexander Usyk, because Usyk's also on the decline, that's a fight that I can take, because again, I can tell the world I got robbed a couple of times, this, that, and the other, yada, yada, yada. But because Usyk's on the decline as well, it's kind of masking both guys' decline. Like, give you an example. When Lennox Lewis fought Mike Tyson, and I think it was the Sky Sports commentators, because you can go and watch both the HBO, you can watch the Sky one. They're talking about both fighters before. It's literally actually just before Lewis knocks Tyson out, and they're talking about Tyson being on the decline, and they're saying as well, Lennox Lewis has passed his prime himself, but you'll never know. I think it was Ian Darke who was commentating on it, and it's a bit like that. They're both on the decline, but one of them is more so than the other, and it's making both guys look more equal. Not equal. Usyk's clearly better, but you know what I mean. And I wonder if that's what Fury's looking at and just thinking, all right, Usyk might be able to compete with these young guys still. I can't, because Usyk is the consummate professional. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Listen, if Fury stays retired, ain't complaining. I think Usyk, if he is retired, should follow suit and join Fury on the retirement block. Vacate those titles, free up the division, and let's let this new crop of heavyweights battle it out. We need new heavyweights to talk about. That is that. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed the video, people. As always, if you could, smash the like button, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. Have a great Monday. Have a great week. I'm back to London on Wednesday. We will get Ada and G-Man out this week. We will get some film studies in for you guys, of course. Back in the home studio on Wednesday. Hope you enjoyed it. Smash the like button. Till next time. Peace.